Greetings, everyone. Dr. Brian Scott with you today. This is Insight to the End Times. And if you have been following us over any period of time, you know we have been sharing with you Bible scriptures that point to the end of the age. We've also been looking at world events, and we've been looking at their impact on these Bible scriptures and how they're coming together. Paul spoke, or he wrote to the young pastor Timothy in 2 Timothy chapter 3, and he said, "Know this, in the last days, perilous times will come." The word perilous means extremely dangerous times will come. And then in the next 6 or 7 or 8 verses, the Apostle Paul points out some 20 or 25 human characteristics, our natural instincts, that are deteriorating so rapidly that they pose extreme danger to ourselves, to the world, and to the system we've lived under. Jesus, when he prophesied about the end times in Matthew 24 and Luke 17 and so on, he referred to a lot of physical events like earthquakes and floods and pestilence and fires and wars and so on. But Paul referred to the deterioration in the human condition. Today I want to share with you, at least get started sharing with you, another one of these changes that's occurring because of technology and all of the things that have occurred because we have so much information available to us. And I really want to look at the fact that we are losing freedoms. We're losing freedoms as fast as a snowball racing downhill. Now, we've been looking over the last 10 days at elements that develop into a one-world government system. They call it the Great Reset. Many world leaders in business, finance, and government, and education, and so on, even in medical fields, they're talking about the need for a Great Reset. And these organizations and these individuals seem to feel they know more than everybody else. And therefore, when they say something, we should receive that as what we call gospel truth. We should receive that as absolute. There's no point to question it because they're right and we're probably wrong. So artificial intelligence has given rise to this. And other programs that have come on the scene have given rise to this, and we are going to be subject to computer systems, programs, software like we never have been in the past. So all of these things come to this conclusion. The devil has a desire, that's Satan, to rule the world. So the Antichrist will be the one he selects on the earth. Remember, God wanted to send his son into the world to save the world from their sins. And so Jesus was born in Bethlehem about 2,000 years ago, ballpark speaking, around Christmas time. That's when we celebrate that. So the Antichrist will duplicate, or he'll imitate everything God did. So the Antichrist is an individual who's likely in the world today. The Antichrist is going to be crowned by the devil, by Satan, as the new leader of the world, and he will take over, and he's going to bring his one world government into effect once the tribulation period begins. Now, I won't go into those details over again, but my goodness, we're close to that occurring. One of the biggest signs that we're getting really close to the end is the fact that we are constantly losing our freedoms. Our country in North America, United States and Canada, are probably two of the freest countries in the entire world. But we're losing our freedoms very, very quickly, and they're being eroded. And one of the biggest freedoms we're losing is the freedom of speech. Now, I want to concentrate on that for a few minutes, and maybe we'll continue it tomorrow. But think about this with me. Not too many years ago, within the last 10 years, a individual I highly respect was speaking to university students on the East Coast who were members of the Ivy League schools, Harvard and Yale and MIT and so on. And the question was being asked, they were dealing with constitutional issues, and the question was asked, can you define freedom of speech? And the response that was given was, you have the freedom to say anything that I agree with. Now, you may not have even heard what I just said. You have the freedom to say anything that I agree with. Well, how do I know what you agree with? I wouldn't know what you agree with. So how do I have the right to say anything if I don't know what you agree with? If that's the standard for freedom of speech. It used to be you have the right to express your opinion no matter whether it's for or against or neutral on any issue. But not anymore. You have the right to say something as long as I agree with it. Why is there such consternation on our university campuses and such a woke type movement occurring on our university campuses, higher education campuses, supposedly turning out next group of leaders? Why is it so confused? Because they've got these definitions, like freedom of speech is anything, you can say anything as long as I agree with it. Well, to me, this is one of the worst failings that we have seen occur in our countries in some time. In fact, maybe forever. Why? Because it introduces a level of authoritarianism and totalitarianism where if you violate what the thread is that people believe in, you're in trouble. You got to go along with them. So we see things occurring that fall under these progressive natures and extreme left-thinking natures or left-leaning natures or elitist natures, whatever you want to call it, that the majority of the population in our country probably do not agree with. But we don't have the right not to agree with. Oh, come on now. In our Canadian government, our ruling party has an all or nothing mentality. So every elected official in the ruling party, no matter what they personally believe, no matter what they personally think, when a motion, a bill is being brought before the floor, they all must agree with it no matter what. If someone disagrees with it and voices their disagreement, they're likely going to be asked to leave the party. They'll end up sitting as an independent. So the individual, their rights to have their own views, their own thoughts, they represent constituents in the ridings that they were elected in. And it might be a very conservative riding, it might be a neutral riding, it might be a liberal riding in terms of their thinking. And they might want to express the consensus of their riding, but it's an all or nothing policy. So we're back to you have the right to say anything you want to as long as I agree with it. The freedom of speech is being shut down across the board. Very, 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 very serious. Let me give you one more thought. I'm only halfway through my notes. We'll pick it up tomorrow, but let me give you one more thought. We have a freedom of religion. That means we have the right to practice religion any way we see fit, however we see fit. It's being renamed the freedom to worship or freedom of worship. Now that sounds almost identical, but it has this other meaning. You have the right to worship any way you want to, but only in your own private home. You do not have the right to take your form of worship into the public sector. You can't broadcast it. You can't put it on the air. You don't have that right. Your freedom of worship is private. It's not public. Freedom of religion is public. It's being changed to freedom of worship, which is private. Major key, major change. See you tomorrow.